Jalen Mills is back with the New England Patriots, and it looks like he's moving to safety. This is a good thing for both sides. Stick around. You're about to be locked into the Locked On Patriots podcast.
You are Locked On Patriots, your daily New England Patriots podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello to all of you Foxborough faithful. Thank you once again for joining me here on this episode of Locked On Patriots, a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Subscribe to Locked On Patriots or follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, to get the latest episode as soon as it's available. I am your host, Mike Debate, and I cover your New England Patriots for Patriots Country of Sports Illustrated. So reach out to me and let me know what is on your mind on Twitter at MDABATENFL. And while you're out there showing some love to the Twitterverse, please be sure to follow the Locked On Patriots account as well at LO_Patriots. Folks, today's episode is brought to you by Ultimate Football GM. If you've ever dreamed of becoming an NFL GM and managing your football franchise, this game is definitely for you. To download the game, just visit ultimate-gm.com or look it up on the app stores. Our listeners get a 100% free boost to their franchise when using the promo code LOCKEDON in all caps in the game. Ultimate Football GM. Patriots fans, thank you very much for spending some time with me here today on Locked On Patriots and making us a daily part of your New England Patriots coverage. Once again, an action-packed pod on the docket for you today. ClazzyClare Cooper, Pat's Propaganda, and a Clare Perspective podcast drops by the pod, and we're going to talk some Patriots cornerbacks. As you may have deduced from the opening, Jalen Mills is going to be a big-time topic of what we will discuss today. Also, we're going to break down what the Patriots might do to better themselves on this position. Here's a little hint, folks. Probably going to go the draft route. But, of course, Claire's opinion on tight endage is second to none, and we're going to discuss the signing of Mike Gesicki and how it impacts the Patriots' offense and why, once again, the Patriots would be smart to still look to the draft to solidify their future at tight end. So stick around. You are not going to want to miss what Claire has to say on the subject. But first, just when you thought Jalen Mills was out, the New England Patriots pulled him back in. Just 4 days removed from being notified of his impending release from the team, the Green Goblin signing a restructured one-year contract to remain in Foxborough. And folks, this is a great thing for both sides. Mills' release, which we talked about here on Locked On Patriots last week, was originally intended to create a net salary cap savings of approximately $4.1 million. Yes, it's going to be a $5.1 million total, but the Patriots also have dead money to eat, so the Patriots were going to clear 4.1 in terms of salary cap savings. But the new contract that Jalen's signing is going to be valued at $6.1 million. A lot of unconfirmed expectations here that a large portion of that is going to be made up of incentives. So a lot of contract details still to come on this, but it appears that Jalen Mills and the Patriots believe that they were better together than they were apart. Kind of like, if I'm being honest, this seems like a let's see what else is out there thing for both sides. Jalen gets his release. The Patriots can weigh the potential salary cap savings. Both sides come back together, agree that the grass wasn't greener outside Foxborough, and they strike a deal. What's interesting here is that Jalen's release hasn't appeared on the NFL's transaction wire as of yet. Don't forget, it was announced on Friday. At least as of Thursday morning, when I'm recording this, we haven't seen it posted on the waiver wire yet. So if the Patriots didn't actually release him and they intended to and just rework the deal, that could feed this theory a little bit more. But regardless of the fact, Jalen is back in the fold, and that's a very good thing for the New England Patriots. Mills originally joined the Pats on a 4-year, $24 million deal that he signed in 2021. That was a big free agent splash for the Patriots all around, not just with Jalen Mills. A lot of guys coming in that season, but Mills was someone that intrigued them because he could align in multiple positions within the secondary. Jalen came in here with the expectation of playing a little bit of slot, a little bit of box safety, maybe a little bit of perimeter corner. But after the trade of Stephon Gilmore, definitely last year after the jettison of J.C. Jackson, leaving by free agency, signing with the Chargers, Mills became a full-time perimeter corner. And he's done a very serviceable job at that. Jalen has done everything that the Patriots have needed him to do. 78 total tackles, 12 passes defense, 2 interceptions, 1 fumble recovery. And really, I think on the right side, he was a very, very good complement to whoever the Patriots were putting on the left, whether it be J.C. Jackson or whether it be Jonathan Jones. The only problem that he had was keeping himself on the field. A hamstring injury sidelined him for only 1 game last season, but he missed the final 6 games, including the season finale, with a groin injury. That was really, I think, the problem that Jalen had all throughout the season, was simply staying healthy, because when he was out there, he was pretty good. Still able to log 31 tackles, 5 pass breakups, intercepted 2 passes, and in the process, he held opposing quarterbacks to completing only 27 of 45 for 333 yards when they were targeting him. So this is a guy that knows how to play in the Patriots secondary and could be a very formidable weapon for them. But you look at Jalen and you say, okay, well, he's going to come back and he's going to be a perimeter corner. He's going to flank right alongside Jonathan Jones like he did last year. Marcus Jones, Jack Jones, they'll spell him on occasion, but ultimately it's going to be these 2 guys at the top of the cornerback position. Well, not so fast. Here's where the plot thickens, folks. Jordan Schultz was the one that broke this yesterday from the Schultz report of Score, and he reported that Mills's return was accommodated under the understanding that he's actually going to play safety this year in the upcoming season. And Jalen actually alluded to this himself when everybody was talking about the retirement of Devin McCourty and the need for safety. Jalen actually tweeted out, y'all know I play safety, right? And I think a lot of people are forgetting that, but I'll tell you where they are not forgetting that. They're not forgetting it in Philadelphia, because Jalen had, I think, arguably his best season as a pro in 2020 as a member of the Philadelphia Eagles. 74 combined tackles, 1.5 sacks, an interception, while aligning mostly either at the box or a little bit at free safety as well. If this is where Patriots are intent on using Jalen Mills, I really like this move even more, because what it does is it gives them positional versatility, someone that can play the free, someone that can play the box if you want to spell or give a little bit of rest to Kyle Duggar at times, or someone that can come in and play the hybrid role when you've got 2 strong safeties really behind him in Adrian Phillips and in Jabril Peppers. This opens things up so much for the New England Patriots. And Jalen Mills is a natural safety, folks. He plays the position extremely well. You might even see him blossom this year in this system and really have his best year as a Patriot, aligning at the safety position. So if this is the move that the Patriots are making, and they are moving him indeed to the free safety position, you got to love it. And I think Jalen's going to do a great job. And now he's going to join Duggar. He's going to join Phillips, Jabril Peppers. Don't forget Joshua Bledsoe still on this roster as well. Patriots, I know, see a lot of promise on him. Don't necessarily discount Joshua as being someone who's going to be just an also-ran camp body. I think the Patriots want to find a way to field this entire group of safeties and bring them in for 2023. But training camp's still a little ways away. I'll keep my eye out for that. In the final analysis, Mills' return proves that in New England, things are always being negotiated, which are going to solve your problems and answer your questions. But in true Bill Belichick fashion, that's all they're going to tell you about their business. But that business is going to include addressing the future of the defensive backfield. And to help us look in to the Pats' potential at the position is the Countess of Claz herself. ClazzyClare Cooper joins me here in just a moment when this episode of the Locked On Patriots podcast continues. But first, folks, today's episode brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. The tournament is heating up, and now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, it's secure, super easy to use, and then you can bet on everything from the money line to the point scorers and the three-pointers drained. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with the same game parlay. So don't miss the chance to get your no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/locked on. That's FanDuel.com/locked on to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Patriots fans, thank you once again for continuing to make Locked On Patriots a daily part of your New England Patriots coverage. Remember, Locked On Patriots is free and available on all platforms, and it is a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And folks, we continue to break down the re-signing again of Jalen Mills. But folks, we are going to take a look at it from a different perspective, maybe from a Clare perspective. That's right. It's the midweek. It's still the midweek, folks. We're a little bit over past the midweek, but we're not going to worry about the details. The Countess of Claz, the illustrious ClazzyClare Cooper of Pats Propaganda and FPC Patriots, joins me here today. And Claire, in the previous segment, talking a little bit about Jalen Mills, talking about his subsequent release and then re-signing and reshuffling, repositioning. A lot of re's going on with Jalen, but he is definitely back in the fold, and we're glad to see it. But the one thing that I was a little concerned with, and I'm hoping you can lend your wisdom and counsel on, is the fact that if Jalen is indeed moving to safety, the Patriots have still a little bit of a need at outside corner. And when you look at the Jalen Mills signing and his subsequent move to safety, what are the Patriots specifically looking at now at the cornerback position? Because it still feels like they need a veteran presence there.
Yeah, well, the thing is, you mentioned, obviously, with regards to sort of Mills coming in or returning, re-signing, as you said. And as you mentioned, he's kind of got that versatility. He's not unfamiliar with playing the various spots as he did for the Eagles, as you said. So him being re-signed initially was just great. The thing is, even when they re-signed him before it was said about him being a safety, it still didn't really necessarily give the Patriots that CB1. He's good, don't get me wrong, but I'm not quite sure if that's sort of what his spot would be. And I guess it looks like it's not going to be, because there's a good chance that he is going to be moved out to safety. And I think that's a key, because losing the likes of Devin McCourty, you're losing a very veteran voice there, and you're losing a guy who is, he's really important in regards to the secondary. I mean, I don't know if anybody else has listened, but Patriots.com have Pats from the Past out, and they recently talked to Devin and Jason McCourty, and it was mentioned, and Devin was mentioning how, as a leader, he would talk to Jonathan Jones, and even outside of the coaching, they would, together, that they would look at different guys and see what they needed to do. You do, if he does this, you do this, that kind of thing. So there was a really good internal kind of conversation going on, and retaining Jalen Mills, although it sort of doesn't replace that Devin McCourty thing. As I said, it's maintaining a familiar veteran voice that is in those discussions, that does that kind of thing. And as you may have alluded to, they've re-signed or retained Jonathan Jones, which probably be mentioned in a further episode anyway, because it's not news. But I think those are key. Now, when you say in regards to a veteran cornerback, I'm not quite sure. Now, I looked at sort of who they've got and what they've got, and they have brought back, as we said, the likes of Jalen Mills and Jonathan Jones, and you've still got the likes of Carl Duggar, Joshua Uche, sort of in that department. And I think that having those voices that have been there before is really key. And I don't know. I mean, I'm not sort of trying to go against the grain, but I just feel like that maybe they're set up to bring in someone new, as in a cornerback from the draft. I don't know if it feels like they've got good scaffolding to bring in now a guy who knows what he's doing, bring in somebody from the draft. It's sort of, they want a really well-rounded guy already. So it feels like it's a top need. It feels like it's an early in the draft situation for them to bring in a cornerback. I don't disagree with you that they need to bring in a veteran. I think veteran presence is always good. Bringing in other familiar folks with the Patriots way is always good. But at cornerback, I'm just wondering if they're structuring, as I said, the scaffolding around with regards to keeping Jonathan Jones, with regards to retaining Jalen Mills but moving him around. Is this scaffolding ready for a high draft cornerback rather than a veteran presence. Now, that's just my opinion. And a lot of people obviously will say, well, it's still too weak. Your veteran presence is still weak, but they need to be looking at the future as well. So it's this balance of veteran presence, experienced guys, talented guys, and new young youth that will kind of go on to build the dynasty, to build the franchise, whatever you want to say. But you can't always only have a situation where you've got veterans, because you'll end up in the situation which the Patriots have found themselves. And when you look at different spots, all teams do, if you maintain too much veteran presence, you start to run out of steam and get to the stage where you're bringing back and I mean this with all the respect in the world, the really old guys who are kind of not as quick and to keep up with the younger guys. And as I said, I genuinely mean that with no disrespect or ageism or anything like that. But if you continue to do that, you aren't ever going to get younger. You aren't ever going to build for the future. So just personally at this stage, looking at what they've done, looking at how they will shift Jalen Mills around, as we've already discussed, I think it's, as I said, a scaffolding around ready for a top CB1 in the draft.
That's interesting, and I'm glad that you mentioned that, because initially I go to a veteran presence. I take a look at the cornerback depth chart from start to finish. Obviously, Jonathan Jones is a solid veteran presence. No one is arguing that. Miles Bryant is slowly becoming a veteran that can play on the outside, can play in the slot, but he's also still learning the ropes here in New England as well. He's not someone that's going to come in and give you a whole lot of pedigree or wisdom and counsel that Jonathan can give you. Marcus Jones,
Sure.
Jack Jones, obviously still very young, still learning their position.
Yeah.
1 year under their belt, not a whole lot. So you look at that cornerback room and you say, okay, they definitely need a veteran in there. But this is a very deep cornerback class in the draft. And when you look at the players that might be available, you start to think, well, the Patriots may see the opportunity to get their future cornerback of the future, someone who can come in here, play press man, and be that presence on the perimeter that the Patriots have always loved to employ. I keep coming back to Joey Porter Jr., someone who a couple of weeks ago I never thought was on their radar, but this kid, prototypical length, does have the ability to play press man, tremendous ball skills, especially at the catch point. There's a lot of growth that we've seen in press technique and his footwork from 2022 at Penn State. So I like the way this kid blends height, weight, speed, great athlete. The only takeaway that I see from him is that he is more scheme specific. He's not necessarily scheme versatile. The Patriots like that a little bit more in their corners, but I think when you look at the skill set that he brings to the table, this is a possibility. So if the Patriots are looking to go that route, he's a guy you may look at. Cam Smith from South Carolina is someone. Deonte Banks is another guy that's really kind of moving up the draft board with a very athletic showing, especially at the combine. So you've got options there, folks. And maybe youth is best served here at the cornerback position, especially early on for the New England Patriots. You've kind of turned me on this, Thomas. I like it.
Oh, well, thank you. But I mean, you mentioned some great names. I wanted to interject, actually. The one thing that I noticed when I looked at this sort of the cornerback list from the combine and that sort of thing is the quality of like the round 2 projected guys, some of the names that you already threw out. So it's not, okay, you've got your Gonzalez and you've got your Porter Juniors, projected first round. I mean, I think Gonzalez is projected as literally top 10. So you are talking very early in the draft. The thing that sort of struck me was the guys that are projected. Now, obviously, I'm only going on sort of what is being projected around. You can only go on so much information. And a lot of this was gleaned from PFF. So thanks for that again, Chudders. But the thing that I was really interested in, as I said, was the guys that are projected for round 2, the quality that is still there in those individuals. And you threw out some names. I know Evan Nazar is really big on Deonte Banks, but he's more of a first round guy, actually. Sorry, my bad. But Emmanuel Forbes, Cam Smith. I mean, Forbes, I looked at him and the plus is that the one thing that is in regards to these cornerbacks that's sort of the second round is they have some really high points, but they have some kind of lows as well. And I mean, no player is completely perfect anyway, but it's obviously the low points that are having them projected that little bit later. But a lot of that you can work with. There are things that individuals have that once they shift into the NFL can be worked, can be molded, can be coached, that kind of thing. So I think what is quite interesting about this cornerback situation, if they're looking at a earlier in the draft, so first, second round, there is still some quality there that you don't necessarily have to be picking up kind of Mr. Gonzalez at number 14 if he were to ever drop.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can still get some serious quality to be having your cornerback of the future to still go with the youth that you can build upon. But obviously, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I really do. And I think it's a smart move for the Patriots to keep their options open, even in the middle part of the rounds. Murph and I talked about Tomlinson out of TCU the other day during Mock Draft Monday. And I think in a lot of ways, people are looking at maybe mid-rounders as being an option as well. But Patriots would love to get that I keep saying veteran, folks. They would love to get that solid presence on the perimeter, but they would like to get an alpha presence on that perimeter. And I think in this draft, they do have the opportunity to get that. And it may be in subsequent rounds, but they also want to infuse some size into that position. Everybody is listed on this depth chart right now, either at or under 6 feet. Patriots would love to get someone that can definitely match up with some of the more sizable receivers that you're going to see. But ultimately, folks, it's all about trying to play the hand that you're given. And the New England Patriots right now have added a tremendous amount of size on the opposite side of the ball, both at wide receiver and, yes, Claire, there's the smile we're all waiting to see. Tight endage, folks. The New England Patriots added a very good one last week, and we're going to talk it a little bit in this next segment about what Mike Gesicki is going to bring to the table and how it might revolutionize what the Patriots do offensively. Talking tight endage with the empress of tight endage herself, the illustrious ClazzyClare Cooper, when this episode of the Locked On Patriots podcast continues. But first, folks, today's episode is brought to you by Ultimate Football GM. Now, you've heard me talk about this mobile game, and if you've ever thought that you'd make a good GM, you've got to give this game a try. Not as easy as you might think it is to create a dynasty. The New England Patriots did so for 2 decades, and no one has done it better. No one will ever do it better. I don't care what you hear from other circles. It's very difficult to build that kind of a dynasty. But with Ultimate Football GM, you can try to do that, and you can get to control and manage every strategic aspect of your team as you play through the seasons, lead your team to glory, and try to build a historic dynasty. With Ultimate Football GM, you're responsible for controlling the destiny of your franchise by hiring the right coaches, the right coordinators, managing the finances, navigating your franchise through free agency, through the draft, player personnel issues, all the ups and downs of a season. And you can do that right through a challenging and realistic game world. Ultimate Football GM is completely free, and it's even playable offline, so you can play on the go as you want when you want to. Locked On Patriots listeners, listen up, because you get a 100% free boost to your franchise when using the promo code Locked On. You can find it in the game store in all caps. That's Locked On, LOCKEDON, in all caps. So make sure to check it out today. To download the game, just visit ultimate-gm.com or look it up on the app stores. That's ultimate-gm.com. Ultimate Football GM. Start your dynasty today. Patriots fans, the illustrious ClazzyClare Cooper of patspropaganda.com and the host of A Claire Perspective, a Patriots podcast powered by FPC Patriots. Claire, in the previous segment, we talked a lot about the Patriots' defensive side of the ball, infusing maybe a little size, maybe a little youth into the cornerback position, at the very least, making some changes in the defensive backfield. But you know as well as I, it would not be a midweek appearance from the midweek monarch here on Locked On Patriots if we didn't talk a little tight endage. It's in Claire's contract. We are definitely going to do that. Not kidding, folks. I'm kidding.
No, it really is.
But she is the foremost expert in the area, and I always defer to the experts in matters of this type. Claire, we could hear the cheers coming from West Midlands in the UK when the Patriots announced that they had signed, or I should say, when it was announced that the Patriots were signing tight end Mike Gesicki of the Miami Dolphins. Aside from the fact that I know you love stealing players from the Dolphins especially, Patriots lacked a sizable presence in the red zone, someone that could go up, make contested catches, be an offensive weapon, and really be a receiving threat at tight end. All due respect to Jonnu Smith, that just never was his game here in New England. Maybe he'll find his mojo in Atlanta, and I think that's the right spot for him. But I also think that New England is the right spot for Mike Gesicki. So you being the tight end expert that you are, Countess, I was wondering if you could regale us with your thoughts on the signing and how does this change or enhance, I should say, what the Patriots can do offensively this season?
Well, thank you, Mike. And I need to thank you for the opportunity to do this, because when I released my kind of free agency frenzy, a Clare perspective recap, it was just before they made the announcement. So I did my show with my lovely assistant Chudders, and it was great fun and it was great. And then I sent it off and I went to put it out. And before it actually got kind of uploaded and put out there, they signed Gesicki, and it was like, oh, that would have been a really exciting thing for me to cover, wouldn't it? Thank you very much, Bill, for doing that once I'd done my show. But no, seriously. So no, I appreciate the opportunity because, as you all know, yes, I'm very enthusiastic when it comes to tight end. Now, when it was announced in regards to the signing, yes, I was very excited because he is a quality player. Now, I had reservations still. I think my excitement overtook me anyway, but there's still the reservations of what they'll do in the draft, because obviously that's still very forefront in our minds of what's going to happen in the draft. And, you know, it is the best tight end draft class in probably about a decade, as people keep saying. So there's always that element of, please don't let this 1 year signing of this, you know, of this experienced quality tight end stop you doing that. So firstly, I just need to put that out there into the universe, as in, please don't let it stop them signing some decent tight endage. On that note, wrapping that up, but I'll put that out there in the universe. Thank you very much. Now, the market is lower this season, actually, for tight ends because of the quality of the draft. And I think that's really affected sort of the contracts and what sort of happened, because Gesicki, you know, one of the top tight ends that was out there in free agency, and he only kind of got an up to $9 million 1 year contract. And the likes of Dalton Schultz has also been, you know, affected to that. And obviously we won't talk about him, but in regards to tight ends, it's really not really a market out there that they're going to get a lot of money. So it feels like we've got quite a good bank for our book as Patriots fans. Now, he's a Penn State guy, as you probably know. And I mean, they make good tight ends, baby. Pat Frimith. But yeah, talking about him specifically, I know a lot of people have been sort of down on him because he's more of, they push him more of he's got more of a wide receiver tendency. He can't block. He's been in the league for 5 years now. You know, he's been with the Dolphins for 5 seasons now. And we know that he can't block. He knows he can't block. All the coaches know he can't block. That's not his thing. So the Patriots aren't taking a guy on thinking that he's going to need to block. Sort of the way that they ended up having to use Smith. Now, what's going to happen at the offensive line is obviously going to affect that, because what we had last season with the kind of carousel of O-line, no real O-line coach, that sort of thing, that's kind of mostly been solved this year, or hopefully by the season it will be solved, possibly with the draft as well. But they've got a coach, so you automatically change the sort of the dynamic that's necessary by having a better O-line. You don't really need to worry that your tight end needs to be concerning himself with blocking, because they know that this guy isn't really a blocker. So, you know, he's probably going to be one of the first people to say that he's not much of a blocker, because it is all out there. So we all know it. But the one thing that he is good, he's tall. He's 6'6", depending on where you look, but pretty much, you know, in that sort of area. I think he came in initially at 250 on his combine, but he's got a lengthy frame and he uses it well. This is something that is key. No, he's not like a really thick, stocky sort of tight end, the way that Gronk was, but he uses his length, and he's sort of adapted his abilities, or, you know, he's gained his skill set, if you like, whatever you sort of, however you want to brand it, to use that length. He's got long strides to get downfield, and he gets open. He's got this great kind of snatch the ball out of the air quality to him because of his size and because of his ability. And sort of looking at his 2022, 2023 highlights. Yes, granted, it's highlights. You're going on something that's already got a bias because you're watching the guy's best bits. And I fully appreciate that, folks, completely. But that's what's out there, and that's what you look at. And looking at that, this guy has the ability to get open. And I hate to say this, but this feels like something that the Patriots have been lacking recently, is guys being able to get open. And that's key to kind of get the ball to them. So, you know, he's got good ball security. If you look at him from a stats perspective, his 2022 stats, are lower than his 2021 stats. He had 32 receptions and he only had 2 drops. Now, you'd argue, oh, well, he only had 32 receptions. And in 2021, he had 73 with only 3 drops. But don't forget the fact that for the 2022 season, the Finns came up against new head coaching and more offensive weapons, as people like to say. So there was a lot of the ball had to be spread out more. So you're not going to utilize one guy when you've got the likes of Jalen Waddle and stuff like that, and Tyreek Hill and stuff like that. So he isn't going to have big numbers because he isn't going to warrant getting the ball that much, but he's still a dynamic player that was there on the field and he was still utilized. And I think that is going to be a big key for the Patriots. They know he's not a blocker, as I said. He can get open. He can get downfield. He's athletic. It's just, I can't help being excited. So I apologize. I know that I'm always enthusiastic when it comes to Titans, but as an avid Patriots fan against the Finns, so passionately that I am. Obviously, I haven't really watched him as much as maybe I should have done because I haven't been watching Finns games because I don't want to see them. That sort of situation. So I haven't really indulged in watching him play, which is why I sought out a lot of his highlights because he is a really good player. And I think that I know that there's the negativity. I know that there's the downside of things like that. And I know, you know, the arguments in regards to him being a blocker and he's that. For me, it's just looking at this guy, looking at what his plus points are, knowing what his negative points are in regards to blocking, and knowing that they maybe don't need to use him like that this year anyway. So the relief of that, we haven't got to worry about that because we haven't got a Jonnu Smith situation. And like you said, nothing against Jonnu Smith. It was a combination of everything around him. It was sort of the ingredients that contain the whole recipe that was sort of the downfall of Jonnu Smith's time in New England because it was so many other things that were necessary. Now that Gesicki's coming in, some of those things have been sort of all sorted out. So just really need to look at him, at what he can do as a weapon, as people like to say, and I'm not too keen on. But yeah, for me, it just feels like a plus as long as they don't compromise their draft. That is the only thing that concerns me about this signing. I think it's brilliant. I think it's wonderful. It's on it's a good deal. It's only a year, so if he doesn't fit, they haven't tied themselves in the way that they had to unload the Jonnu Smith, deal to Atlanta. It feels like they were very fortunate to be able to do that. So it feels like the numbers are good, the timing is good, and his skill set is good. So knowing what he can do and what he can't do, and coming into the system as it is now with the coaching in regards to good offensive coaching, that sort of thing. For me, I don't know how you can not be excited about having this guy potentially in the building at Foxborough, as long as it doesn't affect the drafting. That's it. Done.
That's a very, very good point. Very good point and very well said. And let's not forget, folks, that Hunter Henry and Mike Gesicki are both under contract only through the 2023 season. 2024, all bets are off here. The New England Patriots may be looking at filling both of those positions. If Gesicki has a good year, he gets, greener pastures elsewhere. It has happened before in Foxborough, where someone comes here, rejuvenates their career, and then goes on to get the bag elsewhere. That's something that definitely could happen. And Hunter, if he is a candidate to have his contract extended, that could keep him here a little bit longer. I know Claire would definitely love that. I would love that because Hunter, to me, is still someone who's yet to reach his potential here in this Patriots offense.
Completely.
And I think the routes that he's going to be able to run under Bill O'Brien's direction is really going to bring him to the forefront. And I think it's going to showcase what I loved about this kid in Los Angeles and what Claire continues to see in Hunter Henry each and every day that he, takes the field. But I agree with you, Claire. I think there's also an element of the Patriots right now that is very, very smart to utilize this draft because there are great tight ends, potentially great tight ends, not just receiving, but also in blocking. Murph and I discussed a couple Monday. Darnell Washington, obviously probably the best blocker out of anyone in this draft. Luke Shoemaker of the Michigan Wolverines is someone I think that is maybe 1A in terms of blocking ability in this draft. So if the Patriots want to go for a pure blocker, they've got a couple that they can target. Washington, they're going to need some pretty high draft capital. Shoemaker, they might be able to get day 2 and do well with him. But you're absolutely right, Claire. I think they need to dip into this tight end class in the draft because it's simply too good to pass up some of these talents.
Yeah, two things that have just kind of popped into my mind coming that. in regards to what they've got now with Hunter and Gesicki, they've got a good sort of tandem of tight ends. Now, I know a lot of people talk about the kind of like Hernandez and Gronk, and we know that they're not that. It's just that there's elements of a two tight end set that works. And I think that Gesicki and Henry have got more of a feel that this could work as a two tight end tandem. Not saying that they're Gronk and Hernandez. I'm not saying that. That's a completely separate thing. Just looking at them as two tight ends that have got skill sets that can complement so that they can utilize kind of plays better with regards to what their skill sets are. And I think that's something to transition on in regards to sort of the draft. As the names that you've thrown out, yes, they can look at an individual that's kind of got more blocking prowess, but there's also sort of round sort of 2-3 guys that are there that have got more of a skill set, more like the Gesicki skill set, which is they're a bit more of a wide receiver-esque kind of tight end rather than a kind of inline blocking tight end. Now, it feels like maybe that's how it's evolving in the NFL. There aren't many tight ends kind of out there that have got sort of the Rob Gronkowski, because they need the size, they need the athletic ability, they need the skill set, and they need the blocking prowess. Now, you're ticking a lot of boxes with one individual, and I'm not saying that Gronk is the only one who's ever been able to do it. I'm not. But he had a very special set of skills, shall we say. Nice throwback to movies there that Mike will like. And that's not going to come across, that's not going to come out very often. You're not going to come across that very often is what I'm trying to say. And so I think that this is being recognized. And that is why the sort of the two tight end tandem is, you aren't going to get it all in one guy very often anymore. So how do we split this up more so? So when you look at what's in the draft this year, and you look at the depth that you've got, maybe you don't have to concern yourself that guy is an amazing receiver, but he's an absolute shocking blocker, or he's an amazing blocker, but he fumbles the ball. We don't really want a guy that fumbles the ball, but you're getting my comparisons when I say this. I'm being very extreme in this, but you sort of see what I'm alluding to is, maybe you get the most out of your tight ends when you've got two rather than just one.
Good point. Very, very good point. And to that level and to that point, there are a lot of available talent that the New England Patriots will see. They've got plenty of picks to be able to do it. How many of them are they going to hold on to? How many of them are going to be used? We may not know until the draft night exactly, but New England definitely has its options open. And with the addition of both Hunter Henry and Mike Gesicki, though, we are going to see a much more active tight endage group in 2023 than we've seen probably in the last few years in New England. Countess, what can I say? You always lend your wisdom and counsel. We know you are the expert at tight endage, and you once again broke the meter of wisdom and counsel way off, but also just excellent insight on the Patriots cornerback position. So thank you for joining me here today, as you always do, each and every midweek part of the week. Before I let you go, please let us know where we can reach out to you, where we can interact with you, and what we can look forward to, especially on a Clare perspective, coming up in the next week or so. From the great voice, the great pen of Clare, ClazzyClare Cooper.
Oh, well, thank you, Mike. It's always loads of fun coming on here, even if it's on a Thursday and not a Wednesday, which is fine by me because, tight end
Still
Thursday,
midweek.
We're
putting time on hold for the Countess. That's what we're doing.
But yeah, it's always great fun coming on here. And as I said, I did really genuinely appreciate being able to kind of discuss Gesicki with you guys, because I missed my opportunity on last week's Clare perspective. But it's the off season, and I said that I would come to you every couple of weeks with the Clare perspective, because I was kind of having, like a semi break with it being the off season. That's not really happening. We did a free agency recap, as I mentioned last Friday, with my lovely assistant Chudders. That went out last week, and it was kind of like, just a general recap and what you're thinking about what happened at free agency last week. And now this week, I've gone and recorded with the amazing Mike Gesicki from Pats.com, from Patriots.com. So yeah, that should be out soon, folks. So as you're listening to this, it'll probably come out after you've heard this. Maybe go over and listen to a Clare perspective, because hopefully episode number 60. Cannot believe it, but episode number 60 should be coming to you quite soon because it's been recorded. Please check out patspropaganda.com. It is a bit of a lull with the off season, and myself and Tom have been super busy kind of like with other things and other podcasting things and stuff like that. So that and the breaking news obviously comes to you on Twitter anyway, but please keep your eyes on patspropaganda.com, because as we build up to the season, there will be more coming. There will be some draft coverage. There will be maybe some breaking news coming out about what's going to happen on Pat's Propaganda, because we're looking at getting some new stuff going on. So please keep your eyes peeled on there. And we do appreciate your patience that the content has been a little bit kind of lulled down into the off season. But yeah, and as you know, you can find me each and every week on One Patriots Place, brought to you by the E2G Sports Network. And of course, the Bird app. So check me out on Twitter at ClazzyClare for all the tight end excitement, because that's normally what you get. So thank you very much for putting up with me, folks. I really appreciate it.
You do not have to appreciate it. You don't have to thank us for it. It is something we do gladly here on Locked On Patriots and really all throughout Patriots media. Claire is an amazing follow for amazing Patriots coverage, so please do not hesitate to follow. You will not be disappointed. Folks, we thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to spend here on Locked On Patriots. Now that you've made Locked On Patriots your first listen of the day, please make your second listen the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes. My good friends and colleagues, Kyle Krabs and Joe Marino, take you through what it's like to build a successful NFL franchise. And they do it every Monday through Friday. Find Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. A proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Folks, thanks once again for joining us here today. We look forward to bringing you the very latest and greatest from Foxborough right here on Locked On Patriots. In the meantime, please continue to stay safe and stay well and be the change you wish to see in the world. On behalf of my illustrious co-host in the midweek, ClazzyClare Cooper, I'm Mike Debate. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you tomorrow here on Locked On Patriots.